One of the most bizarre and underappreciated aspects of Jeffrey Epstein's death is the final phone call Jeffrey Epstein made from the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York, which was the federal prison in Manhattan where he was staying. It was just a short walk from the city's financial district, where Epstein and many of his high-rolling banker associate friends made their fortunes. A report from the Federal Bureau of Prisons in June 2023 said, quote, an MCC New York supervisor had allowed Epstein, in violation of BOP policy, to make an unrecorded, unmonitored phone call the evening before his death to an individual with whom he allegedly had a personal relationship. According to the New York Times, Epstein's final call was supposedly to his girlfriend, a 30-year-old Belarusian woman named Karina Shulyak. If you've never heard of Karina Shulyak, I wouldn't blame you. Almost no one talks about her, despite the fact that she apparently lives in New York City and would probably have useful information about Epstein's mental state in the hours before his death. Shulyak and Epstein had been dating for between 5 and 10 years, according to reports in the Daily Mail and other outlets. And with Epstein, it's obviously difficult to nail down exactly what a dating relationship entails. He was a man with basically no sexual morals or conscience, but still the relationship with Miss Shulyak seems to be particularly close. According to the Daily Mail, he seemed to spend a lot of money on her. He put her through dental school and took care of her mother's medical bills back in Belarus, according to that outlet. But one of the questions is, how exactly did he get to call her on an unrecorded phone line? He seems to have lied to the prison guard who allowed him to make the call, saying that he intended to call his mother, even though his mother had been dead since 2004. And because of the fact that for some unknown reason that prison guard allowed him to make a phone call on an unmonitored line, we have essentially no idea what Epstein could have told Shulyak in this call. In my mind, this would probably raise suspicions towards the security guard, given that everybody knows that phone calls in and out of prisons are all recorded, and that the Bureau of Prisons website explicitly states, quote, we extend telephone privileges to inmates to help them maintain ties with their family and other community contacts. Third-party or other alternative call arrangements are not permitted, ensuring inmates do not have the opportunity to use phones for criminal or other inappropriate purposes. We know from other outlets that inmates and prison guards all knew that Jeffrey Epstein was a man with considerable wealth and contacts, and also he had been convicted prior on similar charges. So in other words, he would be exactly the type of person that a policy like this would be written for. On top of that, as I was trying to imagine this scenario in my mind, I realized you would think that the way that you would speak to your girlfriend would be different from the way that you would speak to your mother, as Epstein had told the prison guard. So it's worth asking if the guard was even near him when he made the call. Now, we obviously don't have a recording of this call, but it's worth mentioning that one potential topic of conversation between Epstein and Shulyak could have been the changes Epstein had secretly made to his will, which prison officials were apparently unaware of. Had they been aware of it, it probably would have been cause for concern about Epstein's mental state. But whatever the case, the New York Times reports that Epstein and his lawyers had set up a massive secret trust called the 1953 Trust as part of that final will and testament, and that Shulyak is one of the primary recipients of it, in addition to Richard Kahn and Darren Indyke, who are Epstein's personal accountant and lawyer, respectively. And I will link a PDF of that will in the description, although much of it is boilerplate, sort of legal jargon, and the details of the trust itself are not public, such as who exactly are the recipients of Epstein's large fortune. According to the Daily Mail, Shulyak came to the United States when she was 20 years old, and records show that she was involved in a sham marriage to a woman named Jennifer Llewelyn, who was a chef that had ties to Epstein at the time. There are photos of her entering and leaving Epstein's large Manhattan townhome. The marriage between Llewelyn and Shulyak was reportedly orchestrated by Epstein as some sort of immigration ruse, and it ended in 2019 after Epstein died. When Ghislaine Maxwell, who was Epstein's kind of right-hand woman, was on trial, Jennifer Llewelyn actually showed up to the trial to watch, and as a sort of support system, she viewed herself as a victim in this case. Although it's interesting that Karina Shulyak does not feel the same way, apparently. According to the New York Daily News, an unnamed source said Shulyak was shocked and despondent when she learned of Epstein's death, although Shuliak herself has shied away from speaking publicly. This would seem to imply that Epstein did not show signs of despair on that phone call just hours before he died. Whatever the case, to me, the most important questions on this topic are, 1. What did Epstein tell Shuliak on that call? Whether it's details about his personal mental state or about changes that he had made to his estate, there's basically no situation in my mind in which details about this call would not be pertinent to the investigation of Jeffrey Epstein's death. And the second question that I have is, why would an officer that went through extensive training and ostensibly knows the regulations and rules around inmate phone calls, as does basically every prison guard in the country, allow Epstein to make the phone call in the first place? There was a lengthy investigation into the prison guards that reportedly forged the inspection logs and left Epstein alone for hours and hours and hours on the night of his death, but I haven't heard basically anything about investigating the person who allowed Epstein to have this unmonitored, unrecorded phone call to his girlfriend. But as we learned this week, the posture of the agencies investigating the Epstein case seems to be that they're pretty much done releasing new information. So answers to these questions, at least, are probably unlikely.